Hey guys, my name is Dominic Flex. I'm a custom jewelry designer that specializes in engagement, and today we are going to be doing the top trends of 2023. I'm very excited because this is a year that we are actually starting to see a pivot in designs and a pivot in trends than we've been seeing for the last 5 years. So this is going to be fresh new designs that were coming into the market, and I'm very excited to break them down with you. So the first one, we have solitaires. Let's just get it out of the way. A solitaire is always a classic style. It really never goes out of trend, and this is a design that I really recommend to anybody who wants something super classic. Also, it's a style that ages well. Sometimes I feel like people go a little bit too trendy, and what ends up happening is, in 5 to 10 years, it's no longer relevant and you want a new one. So in going with something hyper classic, you kind of avoid that from happening. And not only that, but what I would recommend, just get a trendy wedding band. That's something that's going to cost a lot less, and you can change it in and out, and it's going to be a lot easier if you do want a trend. Another fun thing is that there are fun ways that you can actually deck it out so it doesn't look as simple. We are still seeing a lot of hidden halos, a lot of petal prongs. These can all be decked out with diamonds. This will add a little bit more luxury to a design that's normally a little bit more simple. And Gen Zs love them. We're actually transitioning out of halo engagement rings because of Gen Zs. For whatever reason, you guys just don't like them. And because you don't like them, they're really starting to fade out. The second one is maximalism. So I'm very excited about this. If you don't know what maximalism is, it's basically the opposite of minimalism. Minimalism has been in for the last 5 to 10 years, and I am so happy it's out. I find it really boring. I love maximalism. It's basically an abundance of everything from, mixed patterns, bold colors, very kind of ornate objects. So how does this actually play within jewelry? One of the key traits of maximalism is that it does not shy away from mixing different styles. You can have, in the same room, you can have vintage as you can have modern, and that is where we're really going to start to see that play in jewelry. So we're going to start seeing bigger, bolder, more, sleek designs that have influences of Art Deco. In comparison to Art Deco previously, they had a lot more kind of milligrain and a lot of detail. It was a little bit busier, and these are going to be very geometric, very sleek cuts. And so that is where it's going to start pulling that modern aesthetic mixed with the vintage Art Deco. It looks great. We are actually also able to hit these styles because of the diamond industry today. 10, 20 years ago, we didn't have access to, hexagon cuts and kite shapes and half moons and all of these crazy fancy designs. But today we do, and we can find them and we can source them. And so because of this, we are able to actually create these very cool designs. Done. The third one is bezels. So bezels are a great option because they're very minimal, but still look imposing, and they can actually add mass to your gemstone. So if you have a stone that's maybe let's say a little bit smaller, and adding a bezel, it makes it appear larger, and it can also hide any imperfections that may be on the stone. Because we get requests, from clients who sometimes want to use heirloom jewelry, or they want to bring in their own gemstones, and let's say sometimes there are little bit imperfections along the rim. Well, this is going to hide it. So that's a very good option if that is the case. And it also allows you to set your stone really low. So for anybody who, is very active, or who's a nurse, for example, a doctor who's always taking their gloves on and off, this is not going to bother you as much as the traditional setting where the stone is set super high. It's going to be set very low. So it's a more kind of practical lifestyle ring. And for this style, we're going to see a lot more angled shapes. So we're going to see Asher cuts, we're going to see emerald cuts, princess cuts. These are all styles that really accentuate that bold elegance. The fourth option is thicker bands. So not everybody wants that ultra feminine aesthetic. They want something a little bit bolder, slightly a little bit more masculine. You can actually go for a simple band. I think sometimes when people think simple band, they think, oh, that's a little bit boring. But it doesn't actually need to be. We can do it as crazy and as decked out all the way to very, very simple. For example, you can actually have elements of filigrane. We did this Art Deco band that was slightly domed. So these are very good examples of thick bands that are more ornate and that even have center stones, but they are technically a band. You can get as creative or as simple as you want, and the one recommendation I would say is if you do want a thicker band, always get a comfort fit, because if you're somebody whose fingers do swell a lot, this is going to be a lot more comfortable than just like a straight rigid band on your finger. Number 5, last but not least, florals. So it's really surprising to me because nobody ever talks about florals. Everybody always talks about more like sleek, elegant designs, but I get so many requests for florals that I feel like it actually needs to be mentioned. We specialize in custom design, so we don't always necessarily do, you know, the most traditional styles. But that is why, you know, we get a lot of requests for florals, vine work, you know, leaves and little accent flowers on designs. It's very, very predominant, especially engagement. So I don't want you guys to limit yourselves to super ultra classic. You can have accents of flowers and it really looks great. So I added a last one because I still think it's a little bit relevant, but I really think that it's going to start to fade out. We do see a lot of cluster rings still on the market. By clusters, what I mean is a lot of the times there'll be gemstones spaced out, or we can have clusters of stones that kind of fit together. They're not even necessarily always the same shape or the same size, but it's kind of a conglomerate. One good thing about having this style of ring is that because you're not having one giant focal point, like one larger stone, it's generally a lot less expensive to have multiple smaller points. So if you're looking for something that has still mass, but that isn't as expensive as, let's say, like a 1 carat diamond, this could be a good option to consider. I'm not a fan of it, and the reason why is because you need to make sure that even if it is a cluster, you need to have symmetry. Because anything that doesn't have symmetry to the eye will become unpleasing over time and really quickly. Like, I feel like it's the same thing as the trois-moi rings. As soon as you don't have symmetry, it kind of feels off. You get sick of it very quickly and you'll end up wanting a new ring. Do keep that in mind when you're purchasing. There are ways of creating a cluster band that still has symmetry. Last but not least, I wanted to add in a little add-on section for you guys who are designing your custom engagement rings, that there are some little fun tips and tricks of things that you can do. So the very first thing that's super cute and a lot of couples love to do is they actually add their birthstones on the inside of the shank. So let's say you're a May baby, your birthstone is going to be emerald, so you can actually put a little emerald gemstone inside of the band. It has a little bit of meaning. I think it's super cute and it's just a fun thing to do. I think we are fading out of the skinny aesthetic. Maximalism back in, we're going to start to see thicker bands, but if you do want a thin band, I never recommend going under 1.5 millimeters thick. If you do want to go a little bit thinner, build your band up. This is super important and it's super easy to do. You know, when we have clients who want thin bands, the biggest problem is that, you know, as soon as you grab something, that band is going to warp. When it's going to warp, the stones are going to pop out and you're basically going to lose your ring. But in creating depth, it's going to solidify a design that would normally have been very thin, and by eye, you're not going to be able to see it. So that is a super fun point that you can do when making thin bands. And lastly, the third point that I want to touch on is if you guys are doing eternity bands, never go more than 3/4. Sometimes I get requests for full eternities, and that's never a good idea, because as soon as you want to try to resize your ring, cutting into it, resizing it exactly the size with the diamonds, there's always going to be a little bit off, and it's a lot more work, a lot more expensive, and in reality, every woman resizes their ring at least 1 to twice in their lifetime. So that being said, make your life easy, stop it at 3/4, and it will be stop it at 3/4. Alright guys, I'd love to know which one is your favorite. Mine is obviously the Maximalism Art Deco style. I'm very excited to see these come in. I want to get some big emerald rings coming in. So send me an email if ever you guys are interested in custom pieces. The links are down below. If you do want to see short form content, you can always check out our Instagram where we do like little short 1 minute long videos. And my name is Dominic Flex. Thanks for watching and bye!